You don't belong here. Move. That was the first thing I heard, words that cut sharper than the slap that came right after. I can still hear how it echoed across Gate 17, like a pistol shot on a silent morning. I remember a badge silver spinning across the floor, stopping at the feet of some business guy who looked like he'd just seen a ghost. People gasped. Nobody moved. I just stood there, 11 years old, in a military honor uniform that looked 3 sizes too big for me, my brother's nameplate pinned right above my heart, my cheek burning red from the slap. And the woman who did it? Dana Holloway, flight attendant for God, knows how many years she looked at me like I was a stain on her nice, clean world. This isn't a costume party, she snapped, like that explained everything. First class is for real passengers. I didn't cry, didn't yell. I just bent down, picked up that badge, held it for a second, felt the weight of it, the memory in the metal, then pressed my thumb to a hidden sensor on the back. Blue light blinked once, then red. Dana rolled her eyes. Security will be here in 2 minutes. Maybe then you'll learn, she said, but I wasn't even listening. You should probably call the Department of Defense instead, I told her. My voice barely above a whisper, calm, almost weird for a kid who'd just been slapped in front of 100 strangers. And then the terminal lights flickered, speakers crackled overhead. Notice, gray flag protocol has been activated. Joint operations temporarily suspended at this gate. The world stopped moving. 9 airports across the country. Military systems triggered lockdowns. Flights rerouted. Boarding canceled. Me, standing there alone, dust on my sleeve, badge clipped back to my uniform. While all around me the balance of power had flipped in Dana, she had no idea what she'd just set in motion. Let me back up a sec. An hour before all this, I was just a kid in a VIP lounge at Fort Liberty Airport, legs crossed at the ankle, hands folded the way my brother showed me. Most people walked by without a glance. Some saw the uniform, figured I was on a school trip or playing dress up. One woman whispered to her husband, "That's got to be for some parade." Nobody asked why I was alone. Nobody asked where my parents were. But that's the thing about being invisible, you start to get used to it. I kept my eyes on the clock, counting down to my flight to D.C., where I'd accept a medal for my brother, Corporal Adam Brooks, who died 3 months ago in Helmand. Not exactly a dream vacation. My dad, a general, told me that morning, "Your brother stood for something, and today, so do you." I just nodded. Quiet. Always quiet. I ran my thumb over the badge silver, 3 stars, an eagle, his gift to me before he deployed, and thought about how different life could have been. Someone behind me laughed, making fun of the kid in uniform. I didn't turn around. I just stood up, fixed my collar, and walked to Gate 17. Now, Dana Holloway's been working first class for 18 years, could spot the real passengers in seconds. The suits, the watches, the attitude. She called it the gut test, and I guess I failed it. No parents, no fancy luggage, just me and my brother's duffel bag. Dana blocked my path with a practiced smile. "Sweetheart, this line's for first class. Are you sure you're in the right place?" I looked her dead in the eye. "Yes, ma'am. I have a boarding pass." She didn't check it, just kept on with her script. "Where are your parents?" "Flying separately. You're not military. You're not first class. Step aside." I didn't move. For once, Dana's gut was wrong. There was something about me she couldn't pin down in that made her angry. When her voice didn't work, she tried her hand. I stood my ground as people behind us started to shift. Nobody spoke up. Nobody wondered what the badge meant. Dana's voice rose. "Step aside. You're holding up the line." I said nothing. And then she slapped me. Not a warning, not a top-of-reel slap that rocked me sideways. The place went dead quiet. A businessman dropped his coffee. Another flight attendant gasped. Even the keyboard clicks at the gate stopped. I picked up my badge, tucked my boarding pass into my uniform, and did what I had to do. Triggered the badge's protocol. The boarding screen went dark. Status bar blinked red. Gate 17 under protocol lockdown. Dana looked like she'd seen a ghost. "You may want to call your supervisor and the Department of Defense," I told her, calm as ever. Phones started ringing. Screens flashed red. Gray flag protocol level 2. Dana tried to argue, to act like this was all a mistake, but no one was listening anymore. I sat in the corner, hands folded, pulled out my encrypted tablet facial recognition, access granted. Somewhere in D.C., my dad, General Brooks, got an alert. Charlotte Protocol activated, Gate 17. He didn't flinch. Just called the FAA. Freeze the gate, isolate the staff, deploy the backup team. Civilian panic level stays at 0. The whole airport froze around me. Social media went wild, photos of me sitting alone, Dana mid-slap, lights dimming, boarding screens blinking out. Within 20 minutes, Gate 17 was trending. People started asking, "Who is she?" News agencies couldn't access my file. Redacted at the national level. Dana's photo went viral. She slapped a gold star child. She tried to explain, but it was too late. Across from me, an old Navy vet in a ball cap leaned over. "Was it your brother?" I nodded. "Hellman Province, 3 months ago." He put his hand to his heart. "Semper Fi." "Thank you," I whispered back. Soon, 2 federal agents, not airport staff, led Dana away. No apologies, no drama, just quiet. I wasn't trying to destroy anyone. Just wanted people to remember what my brother's name meant. The lesson needed to be public. That's the only way things change. In a security room, 2 men in suits asked me for confirmation. I sat up straight, just like my brother taught me. Authorization Alpha, November 7. The tablet chimed. The screen flashed Skylock clearance level 4. "Do you know what it means to activate Gray Flag Protocol?" One agent asked. "It means 9 airports suspend authority until the FAA and DoD review the event." "And who could trigger it? Myself or my father?" I answered. That was that. The agent leaned back. "Protocol valid. No violations." I told him, "She didn't just slap me. She dismissed my brother's sacrifice. She called my badge fake. She looked at me and saw a kid with no value. I'm not pretending I am family." Meanwhile, my dad was in a conference room with the FAA, Homeland Security, DoD. My daughter followed Skylock Protocol to the letter, he told them. It exists because 2 years ago, another Gold Star child was pulled off a flight for wearing a uniform. Nobody acted then. We created this system to prevent shame from becoming policy. One exec tried to argue, 9 airports locked down, that's a lot. My dad just said, so is the cost of silence. By now, Charlotte Brooks was no longer just a kid at the center of a shutdown. She was a symbol. News clips of Dana rolling her eyes before the slap, tagged, "When arrogance meets consequences." Gate 17 reopened. Boarding is now resuming. First-class passengers only, beginning with Miss Charlotte Brooks. I walked on that plane, badge shining, not faster or slower than usual. No one questioned if I belonged. Not anymore. Back in Dana's world, it all fell apart. Suspended, credentials revoked, status under federal investigation, blinking on her crew app. No ceremony, just silence. Crew chat rooms exploded stories of Dana's attitude, how she ran first class like a private kingdom. The CEO got word the FAA was investigating Falcon Air for failure to complete mandatory bias training, something they'd skipped for 8 months. Now, millions in contracts were frozen, ethics holds activated. PR tried to spin it, but social media was ahead of them. On the flight, a new attendant gave me tea and a blanket, no words, just respect. A businesswoman leaned over. "I hope you know how many people needed to see what you did today." I said, "I didn't do it for them, but I'm glad they were watching." In D.C., my dad faced the press. This isn't about a slap. It's about a culture where uniforms are judged, dignity denied by arrogance. The system worked. Reporters asked about my credentials. "She earned them," Dad said. "Trained for months, passed simulation reviews. She's one of only 3 minors with level 4 Skylock access. If the airline had just listened, none of this would have happened." 3 days later, the FAA issued a memo, new dignity protocol effective immediately. Quarterly ethics training for all airline personnel. Skylock badge system, now a protected federal designation. My name wasn't mentioned, but Brooks Unit 17 was on the active list. Airline captains were asked how they felt. One said, "I've seen heroes fly coach and kings in first class, but that girl never raised her voice. That's real strength. Now the skies would remember." Back home, I watched jets from my bedroom window. The badge in a drawer, its echo still changing how people fly. 9 countries asked for Skylock documentation. Heathrow suspended partnerships with non-compliant airlines. The ripple became a wave. The news stopped talking about the slap now. It was the girl who grounded 9 airports and rewired the skies. But I didn't care about headlines. Back at school, I kept my head down when teachers mentioned aviation ethics reform. I didn't want applause. I just didn't want it to happen to anyone else. One night, Dad called me for a video call someone from a European Aviation Commission inviting me to speak at the Global Passenger Ethics Forum. I'm just a kid, I told her. She smiled. And yet you reminded an entire industry what grown-ups forgot. That day in Brussels, with cameras and suits everywhere, I took the Mykonos notes. You don't need a badge to know when something's wrong, I said. What happened to me wasn't rare if that's the problem. Sometimes, normal needs to be interrupted. I told them my brother taught me silence can be dignified, but sometimes it just lets people keep getting hurt. If a kid can change something with one badge and one decision, what's stopping you? A month later, 23 nations signed the Passenger Ethics Accord. The FAA released the Gate 17 framework. Dana Holloway lost her license for good. Falcon Air went under federal oversight. And May went home, back to school, badge locked away. I hope I'll never have to use it again. But everywhere now, in terminals and training rooms, you'll see new signs. Dignity is not optional. It's policy. No one remembers the kid behind the words, but they know not to ignore the next one. So, tell me would you have done if you were me? Just 11, but holding the power to ground an airline? Drop a comment. Let me know where you're watching from. And tell Mato you think dignity in the skies is something we can enforce, or will it always be a privilege for the few?